The global trade war is heating up once again. The United States has officially imposed new tariffs on 60 of its biggest trading partners, affecting nearly all imported goods entering the country. The move targets major economies including China, the European Union, Canada, Japan, India, and the United Kingdom, and it could have major consequences for global trade, businesses, and consumers around the world. So why is Washington taking this step, and how are other countries responding? Here's what you need to know. The new tariffs officially came into effect on Friday after a temporary 10% import tax introduced earlier this year expired. According to the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, the new duties range from 10% to 12.5% and apply to the top 60 U.S. trading partners, representing more than 99% of America's imports. The Trump administration says the goal is to pressure countries to strengthen enforcement against products allegedly made with forced labor. Officials argue that goods produced through forced labor create unfair competition for American businesses while also raising serious human rights concerns. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer called the action an important step toward protecting workers and ensuring fair trade. According to the administration, countries that have committed to banning imports linked to forced labor will face the lower 10% tariff, while those that have not made such commitments will be subject to the higher 12.5% rate. This latest announcement follows another major trade action earlier in the week, when Washington imposed a 50% tariff on certain Canadian products under a different section of U.S. trade law. The new measures also come after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled earlier this year that many tariffs previously imposed under emergency powers had been enacted illegally. Rather than abandoning its trade strategy, the Trump administration has relied on other legal authorities to continue expanding its tariff policy. The reaction from around the world has been swift. Brazil strongly criticized the decision, calling the tariffs arbitrary and unjustified. Brazilian officials accused Washington of using workers' rights as a justification for protectionist trade policies and warned they are considering retaliatory measures while seeking stronger trade ties with other countries. Japan also expressed regret over the decision, saying its trade practices comply with international rules. Australia described the tariffs as completely unjustified and pledged to continue pushing the United States to remove trade barriers on Australian exports. China has once again rejected the accusations of forced labor, calling them politically motivated. However, several international human rights organizations continue to report concerns about forced labor involving ethnic minority groups in China's Xinjiang region. Trade experts say the new tariffs demonstrate that President Trump remains committed to using tariffs as one of the central tools of his economic policy. Supporters argue these measures protect American workers, encourage fair competition, and pressure trading partners to improve labor standards. Critics, however, warn that higher import duties could increase costs for businesses and consumers, disrupt global supply chains, and encourage countries to reduce their dependence on the U.S. market by expanding trade with other partners. Some analysts also believe many affected countries may struggle to prove they have fully eliminated forced labor from their supply chains, making these tariffs difficult to avoid. This is not the first time President Trump has relied on tariffs to reshape global trade. Since returning to office, his administration has imposed multiple rounds of tariffs on trading partners, including China, Canada, and Brazil, while also using trade measures as leverage in broader diplomatic negotiations. The administration is currently investigating 16 additional countries over concerns related to manufacturing overcapacity, raising the possibility that even more tariffs could be announced in the coming months. As global trade tensions continue to rise, businesses, governments, and consumers around the world will be watching closely to see whether these new tariffs lead to stronger labor protections or trigger another wave of international trade disputes. For more breaking global news and in-depth geopolitical analysis, make sure to subscribe, and we'll keep you updated on every major development.